Imagine this. You're at home in the comfort of your own space, the glow of your phone screen lighting up your face as you scroll mindlessly through reels, memes, or late-night news. Outside, the world feels quiet, ordinary, just another night in a suburban neighborhood of Gurugram. But then, without warning, the calm is ripped apart. The night air is split by the deafening crack of gunfire, one shot, then another, and another, until the sound no longer feels countable. Over 24 bullets rain down in rapid succession, echoing against concrete walls, ricocheting through the stillness, and jolting awake everyone within earshot. Now, this isn't a cinematic sound effect or a carefully orchestrated action scene you'd watch in a blockbuster movie. It's not the carefully edited tension of a crime series where you know the danger isn't real. This is raw. This is unscripted. This is happening in the real world. And the house under siege isn't just any house. It belongs to Elvish Yadav, one of India's most popular YouTubers, a social media sensation, and the winner of Bigg Boss OTT. A man whose fame and influence have turned him into a household name and perhaps a target. The line between entertainment and reality suddenly blurs. Because what should have been an ordinary night in Gurugram has just transformed into the opening scene of a crime story that no one expected. On the night of August 17, 2025, the quiet streets of Gurugram became the backdrop to a scene that could have been torn straight from the pages of a gangster thriller. 3 men, their identities concealed behind masks, pulled up outside the residence of Elvish Yadav. They came not with words, not with warnings, but with weapons. What followed was a storm of gunfire, a hail of bullets tearing into walls, gates, and silence alike. Over 24 rounds pierced the night, each echo a reminder that this was not some petty skirmish. This was calculated, deliberate, and chillingly public. Yet, by sheer fortune or fate, Elvish was not inside the house that night. He was safe. The building bore the scars, but the man it was meant to intimidate walked away untouched. And that's where the story takes a strange turn. In the hours after the attack, while investigators secured the crime scene and neighbors whispered about the violence they had just witnessed, the internet erupted, not in fear, not in outrage, but in laughter. Memes started pouring in, mocking the attackers, parodying the event, and twisting a near tragedy into a viral trend. The shooting of a celebrity's home, something that should have left people shaken, quickly became digital fodder for entertainment. What might have been a sobering reminder of rising crime was reduced, almost overnight, into a spectacle consumed between swipes and scrolls. But laughter, as history shows us, often hides unease. Beneath the jokes and the trending hashtags lies a deeper question that cuts far sharper than the memes. What was the real message behind those bullets? Were the shooters making a statement? Sending a warning? Or was this an early chapter in a much darker story waiting to unfold? And perhaps more unsettling, why has social media trained us to treat real violence as nothing more than viral content, just another headline to meme into irrelevance? It was just past midnight when the hum of the city had all but faded, replaced by the kind of silence that hangs heavy over residential streets. But in that silence, 3 motorbikes cut through the darkness, carrying riders who concealed their faces and intentions beneath masks. They did not pause, they did not hesitate, their mission was precise. Within moments of arrival, the night was shattered. Security cameras caught the chilling scene in its entirety. The men, dismounting in perfect sync, raising their weapons, and unleashing a barrage of bullets into the stillness. Over 24 rounds ripped through metal and concrete, puncturing the gates and walls of Elvish Yadav's home. Sparks flickered as metal met lead, and fragments of plaster scattered into the night air. Each shot wasn't random, it was a display of force, loud, unmistakable, and designed to echo long after the last bullet casing hit the ground. Neighbors woke in shock, their windows rattling under the weight of rapid fire. For those few harrowing minutes, Gurugram's calm suburban quiet was drowned in the deafening rhythm of automatic gunfire. And then, as abruptly as they had come, the masked assailants disappeared, slipping back onto their bikes, engines roaring, swallowed once again by the night. No arrests. No faces. Only the haunting evidence left behind, shattered gates, bullet-pocked walls, and the ringing memory of violence that refused to fade. By the time dawn broke over Gurugram, The chaos of the night had already given way to uneasy calm. News outlets began flashing the headline across television screens and social media feeds: Elvish Yadav's house attacked in a midnight hail of bullets. Relief spread quickly when it was confirmed that Elvish himself had not been at home during the shooting. Physically, he was safe. But safety is not only measured by presence. For a man whose every step had been under the watchful gaze of millions of followers, this was a reminder that fame can be as much a burden as it is a blessing. He was safe, but shaken. And the walls of his house, riddled with bullets, bore silent testimony to the message the attackers wanted to deliver. The police wasted no time. Investigators arrived on the scene, cordoning off the property as they scoured the area for evidence. Ballistic experts bent over shattered walls, collecting shells and fragments, trying to piece together the type of weapon used. CCTV cameras, often just silent sentinels of modern homes, became the most crucial witnesses. The footage revealed the masked riders, their movements precise, their actions quick, their escape seamless. It was professional. Too professional to be dismissed as reckless vandalism. But while police traced bullet trajectories and replayed the grainy footage frame by frame, the digital world moved faster than any investigation could. Theories flooded timelines. Some claimed it was extortion, a classic show of power meant to pressure a public figure into submission. Others suggested it was tied to Gurugram's underbelly of gang rivalries, where fame and money attract the kind of attention no one wants. And then there was a more chilling idea whispered in comment sections. Perhaps it wasn't about money at all, but intimidation. A warning. A demonstration that even someone as popular, as influential, as public as Elvish Yadav was not untouchable. What set this case apart wasn't only the crime itself, it was the reaction that followed. In most neighborhoods, an armed assault like this would inspire panic, fear, or outrage. But in the age of instant virality, Gurugram's gunfire became something else entirely: content. Within hours, the internet was buzzing, not with solemnity, but with jokes. Memes flooded Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube comments. Some compared Elvish's home to the set of a high-octane action movie, complete with dramatic sound effects. Others joked that this was Big Boss levels of drama spilling into real life, mocking the sensationalism as if it were scripted for television. Even the shooters, three faceless figures who brought violence into a quiet street, were transformed into characters, exaggerated and parodied in viral reels that treated their crime like slapstick entertainment. But why? Why would people take an act of real violence and spin it into comedy? Psychologists call it coping humor. It's a defense mechanism, a way for society to diffuse fear by laughing at it, reducing the enormity of the danger into something manageable. Humor allows people to feel like spectators, not potential victims, putting distance between themselves and the threat. In a world that feels increasingly uncertain, memes become shields, tiny digital weapons against collective anxiety. Yet beneath that laughter lies a darker truth. When humor becomes the dominant lens through which we view violence, it risks erasing the seriousness of the act itself. Bullets that could have killed are reduced to punchlines. The fear of communities living next to that house is muted by the volume of viral jokes. And little by little, we start to normalize violence, not as tragedy, not as crime, but as entertainment. What begins as coping can quickly shift into desensitization. But while police work in the background, we are left grappling with a deeper, more unsettling question, one that extends far beyond Gurugram, beyond Elvish Yadav, and even beyond this single night of gunfire. In an age where violence can be clipped, captioned, and shared within seconds, have we begun to lose our natural sense of fear? Or are we simply disguising that fear with humor, convincing ourselves that laughter is easier to bear than terror? This case stands as a reminder. Behind every meme-worthy moment, behind every viral joke, there is a chilling reality that shouldn't be ignored. Those bullets weren't just noise. They were intent made visible. And when the internet moves on, the threat itself doesn't vanish, it lingers, waiting to resurface in ways we may not yet imagine. That's why stories like this matter, not just for shock value, but for what they reveal about the world we live in and the psychology that drives both criminals and communities. If you want to keep peeling back the layers of real-life crime, uncovering the psychology that lies beneath headlines, and exploring how fear, power and humor collide in today's world, then subscribe and become part of this growing community of true crime thinkers. Because sometimes, the scariest stories aren't written in novels or performed on screen. They're unfolding, quietly, just outside your door.